So I've been in school most of my life, more than half of my life at this point, and I barely remember any of it. Oh, do you? I'm just saying, this one is for my homeschooling, unschooling, world schooling, um, self-directed education, parents and folks, and those who are just curious and want to join in the conversation of what that looks like. Because I know that was me before I jumped in with my own kids, and it is a journey for sure. However, I really want to talk about what got me through the question that you always get from other people or often get from other people who are not down with the fact that you may be doing something alternative, and the question that is in our own minds sometimes because what we're doing doesn't look like what we even grew up doing. So it's a lot. And that question is, how do you know your kids are learning? Are you sure you're not messing your kids up by not putting them in traditional school? Like somewhere along those lines. What that question looked like for me was, am I doing my kids a disservice by going this alternate path? Even though I believed in it, all of that, I came from academia heavy and strong, and so my deschooling had to come into play. And I want to share the two things that really hit home for me and help anchor me so I don't spiral thinking like, oh, I'm jacking everything up. What brings me back to a foundation? What brings me back home when my head is like, am I doing enough? Am I doing it right? All those schoolish ways of thinking that came from my own experience. Speaking of that, this is my own experience, y'all, okay? So we can have a wonderful conversation in the comments, healthy if that's what we're doing. But please know that me having this experience is unique to me. And sometimes when you're in an alternate space, and you feel like, you're saying that's the only way. And I'm like, no, there's many ways. This is just me sharing how do I get through that mindset. And if you are in that self-directed education space with your kids, homeschooling, unschooling, whatever that looks like, world schooling, let me know down below. And then do you have this question? Have you gotten this from family or friends? Have you thought about this yourself? So I said in the beginning, I've been in school more than half my life. And it's like, I don't remember a lot of it. So when I think about myself as a student, I was quintessential student, academic. I was an A student. I aced my tests. I studied what I was supposed to study. I was doing the extra credit. I was making sure I got an A in every class. I was making sure that I understood it so that I can pass the test and not just pass it, but with flying colors. Like I wasn't trying to see B's, you know what I mean? And it wasn't even that my family was like, oh, why'd you get a B? I did not want to see a B because I knew how enthusiastic grown-ups were when you got A's. And I was like, oh, when you got A's, you got stuff, okay? You got, like, I'm proud, it was just a different energy. I learned that quick, and I learned how I started to identify with that probably in my 30s. I didn't realize how much I had equated being an A student with my identity. So coloring the fact that I went a completely different route. But for me to come from being an A student, deciding I was going to be an A student all throughout college and into grad school, and then teaching undergraduate English literature, English composition, rhetoric, and just being steeped in academia, and then to go a different direction. I definitely had the thoughts of like, am I doing enough? Because traditional school has you in classes, then this class, and this class, these subjects, this grade, you're this age, you're in this grade, you learn these things, this is the curriculum. And I had to sit with myself. I was like, okay, self, you're in your 40s now. And when you think about how hard you worked in school to make sure you did well, to make sure you excelled, what did you keep? I almost think about it like money because I remember reading this. My husband and I was reading financial books when we were dating. It was like, but I remember reading that it's not what you make, it's what you keep. It's what you make and what you keep. Because if you make a lot but you don't keep a lot, you're still broke. And so I put in all this effort. I made all of this effort to be an A student. And then I'm asking myself now, what did I keep? What did I hold on to? I'm like, all the formulas, physics, do I know how to find the slope of a line now? I do not, but I did for the test. all of the things that I memorized about presidents, vice presidents, dates, numbers, all the things that I did, what did I actually keep? And when I think about that and I think how much over, you think about how much time you spent at school, years and years and years, at this point still into my, including grad school, into my mid 20s, okay? And hours upon hours a day, especially when you're young, you're there for like all of these hours, and maybe you're in after school and you're doing your homework and you come home, dinner, wash up, do rinse and repeat unless it's a weekend when you get to watch cartoons, it was a lot of time spent. And out of all that time spent, when I sit down and think about the fact that I did not keep a lot of that, I did not retain a lot of it, I do not use a lot of it, it helps anchor me to some realities around education in general. And the way in which I was like, this is what education looks like. And then having to decide when I had kids, not having to decide, deciding and wanting to decide that there could be another way. But even after I chose that other way, there's still doubts because I was still seeped in that. That's where the deschooling comes in, right? The unlearning, the work that I had to do on myself. A lot of this is self-work around trusting that learning is always happening and believing that. Not just saying it like because it sounds like a cute tagline, but believing like learning is always happening. The second thing I want to share in a second was really a simple but moving and profound shift for me and realizing the importance of what I was doing and anchoring to that it is enough and more than enough. My kids showing me that it's enough and that being helpful, too. So for me, I was thinking, so I'm sitting here thinking like, I didn't retain, a whole lot of stuff. Somebody coming through the door in their room. They see me. They see me on the video. Close the door. Mm-hmm. Probably one of my kids. Um, but for me, just realizing that I did not remember all the facts and figures, but I did remember experiences and conversation. That's my second thing. I remember experiences and conversations at my big age. I can still remember conversations I had with my kindergarten teacher pouring into me and saying, what the light she saw in me. I remember conversations with, I don't even remember what grade, but Miss Ajami, who, we talked about religion and things a lot. She had married someone who was Muslim. She went and she brought me this beautiful Quran that I still have. And she would write, little notes in these books to me and again, pour it into me. I can remember conversations with peers, some that were hurtful, some that were revelatory, some that were transformative and really helped me come into my own. I remember I was that girl who wore a really long skirt. My uniform in high school was, the uniform in high school was like a little short navy blue skirt, white blouse, black shoes. I'm a little Muslim girl. I have my, hair tied up and, I did like the little scarf with the bun. I had a white blouse and I had a long skirt and black shoes. And I still remember this young man in high school wrote in my yearbook that he said, "You showed me that it's what you don't show that makes a woman beautiful." And I'm 40 something and I still remember that he wrote that. And he was a friend of mine. And I didn't know what he was gonna write. That felt like such an intentional thing. Not like have a great summer and great time in college, but something really meaningful that touched me. I remember those experiences and I remember conversations. And I think we can underestimate the power of conversation, how transformative they can be, and experiences. And that's what life will give you, the opportunity to explore, to have experiences, and to meet people, and to talk to them, and to engage with our kids in conversation. See what comes up when they want to talk to us. And I'm not going to say that I'm always ready to hear the stories. You know what I mean? And I have at times been like, I don't have the capacity for what you're trying to tell me right now, but I really want to listen. So just give me 30 minutes and then we'll circle back to this. But it's those conversations that are key. And I will say this, I do believe that I do believe in foundational stuff. You know what I mean? Like reading and writing. I think it's important in life to know how to read to know how to comprehend what you read, to be able to think critically. That's to me is foundational. To be able to question things and not just take it at face value, to research, to find out, to discover. That's a really important thing that I feel is foundational. Obviously, writing, even though people might, say that's not the case anymore because AI, but just being able to write, look, I want you to still be able to write a note, write a letter if you have to, even though I know you're emailing. Okay, great. So we're going to learn how to type too. You're going to do your typing thing as a foundational math, be able to, add, subtract, divide, and multiply, despite the calculators and all that, and understand the language of numbers from that perspective, understand how to read numbers, understand financial things like investment and budgeting and different types of funds. And even this is a formula I do remember. Okay, I use this formula all the time when I'm shopping, is the how to define, the whole, the part, and the percentage, right? So if you have the percentage and the whole, how to find the part. If you have the part and the percentage, how to find the whole, like all of that stuff. I'm like, yes, I use that all the time. So that's stuck. Okay, but those are the foundational things. Outside of that, I mean, experiences and conversation. And we can forget that sometimes because we are often or can be bombarded with all the other information, the amount of information that has been crammed into our heads from school so young and beyond. Outside of like when you're really young, you're learning how to count and numbers and colors and letter sounds and phonics, like foundational stuff. At some point, it's a lot of it's exposure, it's tests, it's so much information, so many subjects, and at the end of the day, again, how much do we actually retain? My daughter really likes documentaries. We would watch documentaries, we would have a conversation. 3 years later, she'll bring up something that we talked about in that conversation. We read a book about Queen Nzinga probably when she was about 6 or 7. She still will bring up things that make connections around things that came out of that book from our discussion about that book in Queen Nzinga. Or she recognizes something that looks like Queen Nzinga. She'll see a statue here and be like, oh, I saw that in a museum that we went to. You know what I mean? And we learned because the museum has like the little placard that tells you what's going on with that particular statue. This happened here. We went to the museum. She saw the statue. She read the placard. Okay, this is like a king or something. This is a king who's being carried by, a peasant. And I did not even remember this because my child is looking at things. Okay, she don't have any logistics or a lot of responsibilities. So she's looking and she's like, there's a statue in Panama. This same one is there. I saw it before. I was like, really? And she pointed it out to me maybe a couple of months later. And she's like, oh, now we know what this is, right? Because we went to the museum and we had this experience and she's making those connections. I love that she does that and she's able to think and she's able to deduce. And my son as well, he's always like pointing out things that are the same. Oh, your shirt is like my shirt. It's the same. This is different. This is taller. Like he's making these comparisons. He's thinking. And I'm like, I'm going to listen to him and his imagination and what conversation he has to bring to the table for me. I'm going to do the same with my daughter. And we foster a conversation around the things that interest her. And that anchors me. The reality that all of the information that I got crammed into this A student's brain over almost half of my life, the things that have stuck most are the conversations and the experiences and the formula so that I know when I'm getting a percentage off of something that I buy, I know how much I have to pay for it. Yes, I can use a calendar, but I'm in a calendar child. I feel like this is Perry. Yes, I can use a calculator, but a lot of times I don't. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna figure it out. So this is about da 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 da, and I'll figure it out in my head. I'm like, that is a very useful formula. I love that formula. But other than that, it's not much. So much information, so many tests, so many assessments over the years, and what I'm actually taking away is that. And it helps me because I'm like, I'm giving that to my children. I'm giving them experiences, exposure, exploration, and spaciousness for exploration, and um, and conversation with me, with their peers, with other adults, and that soothes me when the noise wants to come up in my head, like, well, are you doing a disservice because they're not in school learning this subject or that subject or this subject? Somebody else their age knows this and has this, memorized or, has this understanding, but they don't. And I'm like, it's great that they know that. And yet, this is what my daughter and my son are getting is great too. And it doesn't have to be parallel, but we were taught that it had to be, right? If you were this age, unless you got skipped, you're this age, you're in this grade, this is what you learn. So we all are learning the same thing. But what if the conversation and the experiences are the curriculum, right? Like, doesn't have to be one way. And those are soothing for me. Those are, I don't, that's not the word I really want to use, even though it is soothing, but it's, I guess, validation, even though I still don't want to use that word. But you feel me, you get what I'm putting, you pick it up what I'm putting down, and that is really helpful to sit in that and be like, yeah, we're good. We're doing great. I am in awe of my children and what they glean and grab hold of just in being, just in being. Like, my daughter on the way home today was telling me all about millipedes and centipedes and the different ones that are poisonous and what they do to protect themselves. I don't know this. I don't know any of this. This interests her, and so she learns about it. And she retains that information because that information is important to her. It feels relevant to her life. It's something that she's passionate about when it comes to learning about trees and birds and different insects and animals. Like, that's her jam. Great. Let's keep jamming on that. And I have to put these things at the forefront of my mind. Because when she's like, I want to do X, Y, and Z, and I want to do this craft, and she's really raring to go. I remember if that was something that I wanted to do, I'd have to do like my worksheets first or something like that. And I'm like, well, why can't this be first? Why can't the interest and the passion go first? And then, yeah, you know what I'm saying, you've been working on your focus, and part of that is you working in your handwriting book and, you know, writing down your stories and stuff like that, and, you know, all of that. So yeah, you can do your crafts and then make time for this too. And so, but I have to consciously remember, like, it's okay if she leads with interest. It's not like, oh, this is the meat and potatoes, and then that's just the dessert. So you gotta eat this before you can have dessert. The thing you really, really want. Like, nah, let's flip that. Let's have dessert first and flip that on its head, right? So that's been incredibly helpful for me. That has been an anchor. It has held me, it has cradled me, and I'm sharing it because sometimes when you hear someone else's perspective or how they color it, you're like, oh, I had a friend say something recently about looping that has really helped me in being able to understand the different phases and the ebb and flow in life and work and what that looks like in a way that feels like I can tangible for me. And so hopefully my hope is that this lands with you and someone who needs to hear it around what feels tangible for you, and in whatever ways, I would love to know whatever ways you're able to answer that question of, are they, you know, are they learning enough? Are you doing enough? And all of that that we can sometimes get when we're on the fringe of what is a fringe of like educational, traditional education. So that's what I got for today. I hope this was helpful, is beneficial. If something resonated, let me know down in the comments below. I really want to read it. I really want to see it. And hey, I'm Imani Aisha. I am a marriage coach, but I'm also many things. And on this channel, we talk a lot about life and what that looks like in real time. Check out my playlists as well. If you have a specific thing that you want to like hone in on, you can check that out just to make it easier for you here in this space. But I am here to encourage and remind us to stay connected to yourself, to your spouse, and to creating a life that feels good to you, because we only get the one. So if that's your vibe, please subscribe. Let's continue this conversation. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, for chatting with me. I appreciate you, and I'm gonna see you in the next video.